Hey Wargamers, the new Codex for Adepta Sororitas, or Sisters of Battle, is coming up. Pre-orders go up soon, and so Games Workshop has given us a load of previews of this new Codex, including some of their hot new models. So today I want to talk about the previews for the Paragon Warsuits, the Sacresants, and the Dogmata, taking a look at those unit profiles and what they might mean for your army composition under a Sisters of Battle army. First up, we have the Paragon Warsuit. Now, this is something that I've been looking forward to. I really have been excited to see the profile on this Warsuit. And it's not bad, right? So we know from chapter approved leaks that this is 80 points. It has a movement of 8, weapon skill, ballistic skill, both of 3 up, strength and toughness of 5, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and a 2-up save. So right off the bat, we know this is a pretty sturdy lass here. So, right, she has toughness 5, 4 wounds, 2-up save. That alone is pretty darn good. But then if we consider that this unit will likely have Shield of Faith, assuming that Shield of Faith looks similar to what it does now, that means that it will have at least a 6-up invulnerable save, but be able to be pumped up to potentially a 4-up invulnerable save, so a 2-up, 4-up. And then on top of it, it can likely perform Acts of Faith. So, on the off chance someone does get through that 2-up save or, through your invulnerable save, you can always use a miracle die and make sure that you get the outcome that you want. So Paragon Warsuits inherently are fairly durable, but when you take into account these sisters' abilities, they become even more so. So I think that's an important thing to consider, is that this chassis is durable on its own, but also you have the ability to kind of force an outcome, which cannot be underemphasized. So overall, a really nice unit profile here, something that certainly can get to where you need it to be with movement 8, and then when it is there, it can do a fair amount of damage. It also has this ability to reduce the damage done to it by 1. That's the Paragon Warsuit ability. Now, the way that Games Workshop has worded this, technically it means that, damage 1 attacks do 0 damage. Now, the convention has been in the past that that's not actually how it works. That's down to a minimum of 1. So I think we can fairly easily expect a day 0 FAQ on this to clarify that. But nonetheless, that's still a pretty reasonable, pretty good trait to have, especially when you only have 4 wounds. It means that something like a Melta has a much less chance of actually taking out a single suit in a single round of shooting. I think this is interesting to compare to the Morven Vol preview that we had a little while ago. She has a different type of warsuit, right? She has a better warsuit that they actually said was, an upgrade on top of the Paragon, similar to power armor is over a flak jacket. So it's really supposed to be leaps and bounds better. But I wonder what this might say about the rest of the unit profile for the Paragon. This is just a preview. It's not all the rules. And so there might be some additional information in the actual data sheet that makes these units even better. But of course, we don't know. So Morven Vol has the Purgator Miralibus Warsuit. Sorry about the pronunciation there. It says this model has a 4-up invulnerable save each time the model would lose a wound as a result of mortal wound. Roll a d6 on a 4-up, that wound is not lost. So basically, it has a 4-up invulnerable save all the time. And I wonder if the Paragons will have a similar but weaker ability, right? If they're going to have a built-in invulnerable save on top of their Shield of Faith, right? If maybe their Shield of Faith will be, bumped up to 5-up inherently or something like that. Right, I wouldn't expect them to have as good of a trait as Morven Vol, of course. But I'm curious if this suggests that perhaps they will also have an improved invulnerable save. Morven Vol also has a Holy Aegis, which basically halves the damage on an attack, rounding up. Again, this is worded appropriately, so you would always do at least 1 damage to Morven Vol if you get a wound through. But it's not worded appropriately on the Paragon, and I don't think the Paragon would be, meant to be better in this way compared to Morven Vol, of course. So again, pointing at a clear rules as intended interpretation. But the Holy Aegis seems to be the analogous trait to the Paragon Warsuit trait that we just discussed. So, yeah, I think those two things are analogous, and it just leaves the question here if they're going to have a better invulnerable save than is apparent already or not. We know Paragons can be equipped with a Flamer, a Melta, and a Bolter option on their left hand, and then on their right they can take a melee choice, which is either going to be the Paragon Warblade or the War Mace. The Warblade is Strength +1, AP -3, damage 2, so that comes to be Strength 6, -3 AP, 2 damage, and then you get to make an additional attack with this, so you have a total of 4 attacks. And then the War Mace is Strength +4, -2 AP, 3 damage, but you have to -1 from your hit roll. So you're hitting on 4s instead of 3s, but still, both of these are really good options, right? So we're talking about Strength 6, -3 AP, 2 damage. That's pretty consistent. High number of attacks versus Strength 9, -2 AP, 3 damage, but only hitting half of them. With 3 attacks, that's not necessarily fantastic, but if we take into account some order convictions and things like that, we can get more attacks and make the mace more attractive, I think. So both of those choices, I think, have a place, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a combination of those on the tabletop. Not necessarily in the same unit, of course, but across the board. So both of these, I think, signal that Paragons are going to be able to do a fair amount of damage, but primarily, I think their asset is their durability and mobility, and being able to deal damage, yes, but also just be a board control presence at the center of an army, right? Personally, I'm more excited about the Celestian Sacresants. So from chapter approved, we know that these are 14 points. They have movement 6 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3 up, strength 3, toughness 3, 1 wound, 2 attacks, leadership 8, and a 2-up save. So these are our sisters with big old shields, and they're going to be able to stick around. They have the option to take a mace, which is strength +2, -1 AP, 2 damage, or an halberd, which is strength +3, -3 AP, 1 damage. So strength +2 on the mace means that this is strength 5, -1 AP, 2 damage, versus strength 6, -3 AP, 1 damage on the halberd. My instinct is that strength 5 versus strength 6 isn't going to be as huge of a deal as we might want, especially considering that we have the damage. So my tendency would be to lean towards the mace for these Sacresants, and kind of use them as a beat stick unit to occupy objectives, right? Especially when paired with the Dogmata, which the more I look at the Dogmata, the more excited I am about her. The model, I think, leaves something to be desired, but the rules, I think, are really interesting and really lean into some of the core, no pun intended, features of 9th edition, right? 9th edition is all about being in the place and doing the thing, and the Dogmata makes that happen. So she has a movement 6, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3, strength and toughness 3, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and a 3-up save. So, your basic sister's profile for the most part, with the exception of an enhanced wound characteristic and more attacks. She's going to need those attacks because she has a righteous mace, the mace of the righteous, that is strength +2, -2 AP, 2 damage. So she can do a fair amount of damage, right? For what we know is a 65-point model. She can swing, she can hit hard, but she doesn't have a ton of attacks. You can up that using order convictions and stuff like that, which is good. But nonetheless, a respectable support character, but I think really the thing that makes her attractive, really interesting, is the unflinching determination rule that she has previewed here. It says, in your command phase, you can select one friendly core unit within 6 inches of the model. Until the start of your next command phase, that unit has the objective secured ability. If the model in that unit already has this ability, that model counts as one additional model when determining control of an objective marker. Now, I've heard this, I think I've heard this read too quickly at times. And on first glance, you might think, oh, that just adds 1 to the total number of models in the unit for determining control of an objective, right? So if you have like a unit of 5, you give them this. If they already have objective secured, that means that you have 6 models. No, it means that you have 10 models, right? So if a model in that unit already has this ability, that model counts as 1 additional model when determining control of an objective marker, right? So it's per model, which is awesome, right? That means that you can have a unit of 5, battle sisters count as 10 battle sisters for, objective control, which is really valuable. And this is where, the value, this is where the points for the Dogmata really seem to be worth it for me. On top of that, you can give a different core unit objective secured. Now, we don't know what core is, right? It could be something like Necrons, where there's, like 5 different, different units that have core. Or it could be something where the majority of our infantry are core, right? And if that's the case, there's going to be a lot of really good options for unflinching determination, which is fantastic, right? You can give, any unit that's core objective secured. That means that you're going to have a lot more staying power in that situation. Notably, the Paragon Warsuits have been referred to or compared to infantry in the past, so I would be interested to see if they are infantry, and if so, if they are also core. I would be surprised, I think, if Paragons were core, but still, this is something that you could give there. I think more likely is that the Sacresants would be core, right? The Sacresants could be core. You could give them, objective secured potentially, or you can double the number of models essentially in a Battle Sisters unit. And so I think this sets up a really interesting scenario where the Dogmata is sitting on objective with a unit of Sacresants and a unit of Battle Sisters. Let's say that the Dogmata starts buffing the Sacresants to begin with, and they start getting whittled away. Once you start losing Sacresants, you can switch the buff to the Battle Sisters and still maintain, the same number of objective secured models essentially on objective, even though you're losing some of your actual bases on the objective. So this gives you a really easy way to maintain control, even in cases where you're losing models. And that's highly advantageous. That's something that's actually really, really useful. And I wouldn't be surprised if I start seeing this in more lists. I think that's an interesting way of using the core mechanic, using the objective secured mechanic, is to amplify the objective securedness of different units. So that would be something interesting to see in different flavors across different armies, as well as new codices continue to be rolled out. For that reason, I'm actually very excited about the Dogmata. I was pretty lackluster on it. Based on the previous previews, we know that she's also going to be able to do some of like the hymns and stuff like that, which, we'll have to wait to see more on. But overall, for an elite choice, I think this is going to be very competitive. There's a lot of different elite choices already that are, good choices, but the Dogmata seems like it might eke out a victory against an already competitive field. So I'm excited. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Which of these 3 new units are you most excited to see on the tabletop? What do you think are their strengths and weaknesses? Let's have a conversation in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and of course, happy wargaming. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This channel is made possible by my wonderful supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our community over there as well. Special thanks to A Little Pink Monster, Poot, Benny B. Jones, Durza, Everett Keller, Robbie Goodwin, Jose Gomez, Ruger, Drew Pratley, Michael Byrne, Zealous Brimstone, Scott Heater, Stephen Cowan, Jared Egler, Chris Kessler, Tao Oswell, and Shifty.